Hello, welcome to another spooky drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, we got a Patreon over at patreon.com/slash drive-in double feature podcast. It's just a fun area where we're having some fun conversations that we're generously giving to you for only $5 a month. We should be charging more, quite frankly, but just as a nice gift for you, it's only $5 a month, and it's quality stuff over there at patreon.com. So
Mhm.
please go check that out. But if you like this podcast, don't worry, it's not locked behind any paywall. But today, for Thursday, we're going to be talking about 2022's Sick, and that is directed by John Himes. And
Yeah.
it's
You gotta,
sick.
yeah, it is sick. Well, you gotta mention who wrote it. Come on now.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah. And this movie is actually written by Kevin Williamson, the legendary screenwriter? Question mark.
Of course, yeah, the legendary. He made the
He,
first two Screams and the Faculty,
yeah, he legend, total
and
legend.
yeah, and other stuff.
Yeah,
But
but the guy who wrote Scream. He wrote this movie too.
green
Hold
light
for
it now.
applause.
Yeah, and directed by the guy who made like those Universal Soldier sequels that people really like. That like people are like, oh yeah, these are actually good.
Oh, do they?
At least the cult crowd, I've heard positive things about. Like, there's like one of the Universal Soldier sequels that people are like, oh, it's better than the original. At least from what I've heard.
Gotcha. Well, I'll take their word for it.
When we cover it.
I'll take their word for
Okay. Okay.
it. No, kid. But yeah, this movie, I wanted to do something a little more recent because I wanted to just see what we were getting in for more recent horror movies. And this one, no particular reason other than it just general availability, to be honest
hmm
with you. And I wanted one that was at least rated as a pretty decent movie. So
hmm
this one is it's a time capsule in a way because it's set during the height of COVID. So if you wanted a little reminder of what that lifestyle was like 3 years ago, then hey, check this movie out
I'll be
because
I'll be honest with you. Like, I was hearing all these COVID terms and wearing a mask and testing, and it like killed me. I was like, oh God, it's like, I guess, too soon. I'm like, I don't want to hear about this.
yeah, it was a little like too much of a harsh reminder in a way. Like,
Yeah.
not like not that it's in poor taste or anything like
No,
that,
no.
but it's just like, oh my god, like so many of this stuff in here that they do is like so just jarring, just seeing like
Mhm.
deja vu, like guy going to like the grocery store, everyone's got a
Yeah.
mask on, there's nothing on the shelf, people getting mad at each other for not having mask on, and then
Yes.
they go home and they wipe everything down
Yeah, the
with wipes.
groceries, they
and
wipe
i'm
it
just like
down.
and I'm just like, oh my lord, like I forgot, like it just
It's
all
almost
comes right.
embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, just like just come rushing back to you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um and I hope you're okay with that because COVID is a central
Yeah.
plot point in this movie.
It's the theme of the movie, which is crazy that this movie was made in 2022, so it's probably filmed in 2021. So it was really fresh, like at the time.
Yeah, and there's so many movies now. Like, so since it's the month of October, I was
hmm
watching. I just it's so weird now hearing movies like referencing COVID and
hmm
all that. Like, because I'm watching a lot more horror movies this month, and I actually watched The Menu last night,
Yep. Yep.
and there is a line in there where they're like, "We kept you open during COVID," type of thing,
hmm
and so it's like It's like, man, it's just going to be like for the next like couple of years, huh? They're just gonna,
Yeah.
for a lot of movies are going to be just like, hey, you remember COVID?
Yeah, yeah. And that's why Sick is it gets to be in the coveted genre of COVID exploitation, which maybe we'll get into a little bit more as we move on.
I'd be very interested to see the rest of those, but
Yeah.
I do appreciate they do that instead of like what I imagine COVID exploitation movies to be, which just
Yeah.
basically what Unfriended is, where it's just like we have to have a whole movie filmed entirely in Zoom or whatever. So,
Yeah, exactly.
but so anyway, the main plot point of this is it's a slasher movie,
Hmm.
and uh, one guy gets killed in the very beginning of the movie, and you don't know why, and then it cuts to these two friends like hanging out, and again they're taking COVID very well. One of them's taking it very seriously, and
Yeah.
like so much so where they're like, what are you doing, like you're not wearing a mask, and they're outside
Yeah,
like
she's outside and she's like, "Oh,
and
I don't need to wear this."
right, and they're like about to go jump in a car together to quarantine. They're like, put your mask on. I'm like, well, if you're gonna go quarantine and
Hmm.
like and it's just the two of you in the car, do you really need to have a mask on?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, wasn't that the whole thing? Is like you're in a car with somebody else, you really don't need to wear a mask with them,
Well, I mean,
especially
if
if
it
you're
was
gonna
a
live with them.
right, well, I mean, if it was a total stranger, like an Uber ride,
Yeah.
I would understand it. But like these girls are presumably going to go stay in a house together for 2 weeks, just the
Hmm.
two of them, and it's like, oh, better put a mask on because it's just going to be the two of us, even though we're going to go be in a house where we're with each other the whole time.
Yeah. And this plot right here, that's kind of it. This is like watching this movie, it's as basic of a slasher as you really can get. Like it's like a basic slasher set in COVID. That's its gimmick. And there's like a few other characters. It does have a twist. I will say there will be spoilers at some point, and this is a newer movie. So if you're interested in it, we'll let you know when the spoilers come.
Yeah, and I would say this is a movie where it's pretty much just like there's almost no second act,
Yeah,
where it's kind of like they have the establishing first act of telling you who these people are that our main characters are, and then the killer shows up, and then it's just a really long like slasher sequence where
yeah,
it's just being chased or outmaneuvering the killer type of thing, and that's kind of what the main part of the movie is.
yeah. That's what this movie is. Yeah, it's a movie. I guess just to like say feelings. I don't know how to really feel about it. I didn't really like it. I didn't really hate it. It was like it just felt so bare bones, and like the killing was good, but I could care less about these characters because there really was no development anywhere.
No, and I mean, when I say, I mean, the first act, like they don't really, you don't get to know, like there's one girl like who's the friend, and that's pretty
Mm,
much her role, like she's the friend, you don't know
yeah,
like what her deal is, and then it's the other girl who's the main girl of the movie, and her ex or I guess um friends with benefit guy shows up
yeah,
type of thing.
DJ, and like,
DJ,
and
he
he
wants to be
wants to be.
exclusive.
Yeah, but the other night before she was recorded kissing another man on social media, and you think there's some drama there, kind of like, oh, that does work into something later, but not into the romantic relationship all too much, because that plot comes up. She says, there is more, I have more feelings for you, and it's dropped pretty quickly because the killer shows up.
Yeah, they don't really dive into it. They kind of just are gonna leave it kind of like this unresolved feelings, and they're
Hmm.
the guy, because the guy shows up at the quarantine house like, hey, I followed you, you post on social media, so I followed you here, which is really creepy, but
Yes, yeah.
uh but he just shows up and just kind of invites himself in, and he ends up quarantining with them, and but then she kind of gently turns him down, like, hey, like there is something between us, but I'm not ready to take that leap yet, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, fine, I'll go. And then that's just when shit hits
The
the fan.
the
So
killer. Oh my god, the killer
yeah.
we don't know. Chases them down. And I mean, some of this is good stuff, it's like what you expect. It's like cat and mouse stuff, him chasing them around the house. And there's a really good kill. DJ dies pretty quickly after that, where he gets stabbed. Um, what would you say he's stabbed by? It's like a big pole. Um, and, and it's poking through his chest, and he's like lifting him up like a puppet. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a pretty good kill.
Yeah, I mean, because he gets stabbed with a knife a bunch of times,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's kind of a neat little fake out, I thought, where
Mm-hmm.
because the door opens and you just see DJ like come out, but he doesn't look like he's moving naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out, like you said, he was kind of being well. So like you, because they do a close up of his feet, and it looked like he was trying to like dance or something. And I thought he was like trying to show like he's fine, and he was like trying to do like a little dance move type of thing, like, see, I'm
That's
fine or whatever.
funny. Our minds are in different places, because like in my head he was floating, his feet wasn't touching the ground, and I was like, oh, is this movie gonna get interesting? It's got a supernatural element or something. And no, he's being lifted. I was like, oh, somebody's controlling with their mind or something. I was like, there's something weird going on here. No,
See, I thought it would have been a dance movie.
that would have been fun. I think Kevin Williamson, and he's taking a stab at the dance movie
Yeah,
genre.
I think that would have worked out great.
I agree.
But uh, but yeah, he dies pretty quickly, and then after that, it's kind of like this chase sequence between the friend and the friend and the main girl, where they end up crashing a truck and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was decent. I mean, I got what I mean. It was pretty much exactly what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't bad in my book, but I agree it wasn't particularly interesting either. So
Yeah, I don't know.
um, and to me, it's like you're wanting me to get invested in these characters, and like I don't really feel like there's enough of a backstory for me to care about them too much. Where it's
No.
like, I mean, like, okay, well, take Scream for example, where it's just like you spend time with these people, you get to know
Mm-hmm.
them. It shows the relationships between these people, so you get a little more attached to them when the killer does start showing up killing people. So um, this one, like I said, they kind of go in for that briefly, but I don't really feel like I get a sense of like who these characters are in a way. It's just like,
No.
oh, she's a girl and she doesn't really like the label of relationships, and her friend is well, I don't know.
Her dad is sickly and can't get COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's strong because she falls off the top of the house and she just breaks a leg, and she's able to like saran wrap it to
Yeah.
help it in a weird bit.
I mean there was some like stuff like that where I thought was like kind of interesting, but then like at the same time I kept thinking, I was like, well, I feel like I've seen some of this stuff
that
before.
that's the thing, is like I felt like, oh, I could get this out of like another slasher. Like this one isn't doing anything particularly well. I mean, there's like the interesting bit where she's on the raft in the middle of the lake, and the killer's chasing her in the water, that I thought was pretty cool. Like how he was trying to stab her through the bottom of the raft. That was pretty cool, because it's pitch black and she has to swim in it eventually.
Yeah, that's the part I was thinking of, like the raft, and
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of, because it's these planks of wood, so it's just like a
Mm-hmm.
little, like it's a section of the dock that is floatable and turns into like a
Mm-hmm.
little raft, and he's kind of shoving his knife up there and stabbing her. But I at the same time I kept thinking, like, I feel like I've seen this in other movies.
I think so too. I think I can't think of anything.
Or maybe not
Maybe,
specifically a raft, but it's like I've seen like the knife going up through, like
yeah.
from the coming up from the bottom and stabbing somebody.
I've definitely seen a serial killer, a slasher villain that's in the water a lot. I'm talking about Jason Voorhees, and I'm pretty sure he's done that move before.
Who?
Um, oh, you wouldn't know him.
Oh,
Very,
okay.
very under known, underseen movie series.
Oh, there were
But
more than one. Wow. Okay.
yeah, somehow. But I do like that when Parker there, she does get to land. She does go into that that guy's home who has the shotgun in her face, like, gotta get out of here in 3 seconds, as it pointed at her. I like to think that he was doing that because of COVID. He was like, don't you step foot into my home, I will kill you if you give me
Dude,
COVID.
you're not standing in my home until you get a negative test.
He has the test like taped to the barrel of the gun or something.
Yeah, the gun shoots out on the Q-tip with the solution on it.
That would be a good gag. But he dies so fast. Like that's a very quick fake out, like because she's like appealing to him, like, oh, I know your daughter, and then he realizes who it is and he just gets stabbed right there.
Yeah. And of course they have to go with the whole like my cell phone doesn't work out here
Of
type of thing.
course. Yep.
Because
You always have to figure out how to explain the cell phones nowadays.
um so there was a well, there's a couple of dumb bits where I was just like, so well, like, we like you said, the friend falls out of the house and she kind of plays possum to fake out one of the killers, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually the main girl Parker, she ends up does killing a killer, and you think, oh, that's it, like that's it, killer's dead, but no, there's two killers.
Bum bum bum. Yeah, no, it's such a. I don't know. As soon as he died, I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't it.
Well,
It wasn't even
yeah,
a surprise.
well, especially when there's like 30 minutes left in the movie, it's like, okay, well, unless this turns into a supernatural movie, all of a sudden there's going to be another
Mhm.
killer. So
Exactly, and it's such a sudden reveal. That's how I felt about, and I think here, if spoilers, there's a scene later in the movie where they're on the road. She finally gets out and she's running away from the second killer, and somebody in a car pulls up, and which is a funny bit because the killer's
this
right
is the
there.
part of this is my
Yeah,
favorite scene in the movie. Yeah.
yeah, the killer's right there coming after her, and it's this the person in the car is played by Jane Addams, and she's like, you can't get in here until the mask come you put on this mask. It's like, or no,
Well,
first at
she's
first she's like, where's your mask?
yeah, she's like, I don't have a mask, and just like clearly like in distress, and she's like, well, you can't come in here, and she's like, let me see if I have an extra one, and just makes her wait.
Yeah, but I like it too because the killer's coming the whole time, and she even gets in the car, is like screaming. But my thing is I saw who it was. I knew it was like a Jane Addams. She's relatively famous. She's in movies. I was like, this can't be more than a glorified cameo. She's a bad guy. I knew it
Yeah.
almost instantly.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured that too. I was like, this is
Yeah.
way too convenient. So
Exactly. But this is where the movie gets like this crazy twist, and I think it kind of killed it a little bit for me because I think this movie wants you to sympathize with our hero. I don't sympathize with her. Like,
I didn't sympathize with any of them, and like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the twist in here is just I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I'm like, in 10 years this is gonna look so dated. Like this is gonna look
Exactly.
like you're gonna try to show this to like a kid who's like a teenager 10 years in the future. They're gonna be like, what's this about?
you're
I don't get
yeah
it.
you're
Like,
gonna have to explain to them the whole time, like, oh yeah, when this was going on we had to do this and this. Yeah, because like they have the Q-tip, put it up her nose to test her for COVID because Jane Addams and her other son, who's dead now, and her husband, their kid died from COVID in what, 3 days. Like that's the way they set it up, is like, oh, he got COVID the day you kissed him because you're asymptomatic, and he's dead now. And like I was like, that timeline doesn't work really.
No, they do that, and then they not only that, but then they go kill that other guy, like in
That's
the
right.
meantime.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just well, like, because you wonder why they're testing her for COVID, and like
Hmm.
I don't know, like that whole part was just like I don't know, it just did not really.
I
I didn't
yeah.
really, I didn't like it, and
I didn't either. I thought it was just like a bad twist. It's like I don't know. It's like you had just a basic slasher, and you thought you were like. It makes it feel like the writer and director here were just trying to elevate it. Like, oh yeah, it wasn't COVID times. We were treating everyone like this. It was this silent killer chasing after us. Like there's some deeper meaning here, but I don't think it works, and I think it makes the people looking to kill her look bad, and it makes this girl who went to a party and got everyone sick with COVID look bad.
well, yeah, and I'm like, I get supposed to be like, oh, like shouldn't they, like, they're so mad because he infect. Well, I'm like, how could they even determine like it was her that did
Yeah.
it? Because they're like, because they said like, oh, we tested all the DNA of everyone at the park. I'm like, how do they know all these people and like able to get all these samples? Because they even like, we traced it back to the original guy that you made out with that night, which was the guy in the beginning of the movie. I'm like, how? Like, what? Where is this like
Yeah.
DNA tracking COVID?
And how quickly did their son die? Like it died almost instantly, and they had the time to be like, I'm taking revenge. Let's go around and test everybody. Like, because they're just like, yeah, we traced it to you. Just an easy explanation. You know, this would take so long to track down, even if that's even possible, which I would say it's almost impossible.
Well, I mean, like, did they even say what they? I was like, did I mean it would only make sense if they're like, oh, we're a part, like we're pathologists or something like
Yeah.
that, or they, but they done that. There was nothing like that, and so
Mhm.
I just, I don't know, like that part. I was just like, this is so dumb, like kind
Yeah.
of, where I was just like, it's not.
Mhm.
And that's where I kept thinking, I'm like, this is gonna look so awful, like in a couple, and like
Yeah.
maybe not even 10 years, maybe even 5 years, it's gonna look
Well,
worse. So
it's already hard to watch, as we talked about. We were already like, oh man, it was hard to watch like this stuff. So like I don't know. And I
well, I mean,
mean,
like we know it because we saw it, but I'm just saying, like,
for somebody,
keep,
yeah.
yeah, somebody that like didn't go through that, they're gonna be like, why is this such a big deal, like type of thing.
Yeah, they're gonna think it's like some dystopian sci-fi movie where some weird disease is wiping everybody out or something. I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, it ends pretty basically. You know, they catch Jane Addams
Uh,
on fire and
well, I do want to mention that. So one other scene I thought was
oh yeah.
dumb, which I just, so okay, this is a house that the killers have never been in before,
Mm-hmm.
and so they think the friend character is dead, but really
Mm-hmm.
she snuck off and she grabbed a laptop and she's trying to iMessage the police,
Yep.
uh, to say I need help, and it's the but the Wi-Fi is not working, and then all of a sudden, like the one killer is like, he knows exactly where the Wi-Fi router is,
Yeah, and it's
and
like
and
hidden too.
and he stares at it and he's like, somebody's trying to use the Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
like,
I thought that was
I'm
so
like,
dumb.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're digital. This movie knows about technology. When like I doubt just this dude looking at a router would be like, I know what's going on. Somebody's texting the police here.
Yeah, so
When
I
like it could be well, they took their phones, but I mean, where'd they put their phones? They could still be on the Wi-Fi in the cabin, you know?
right. Well, I mean, it could be a number of things. It could be like somebody's getting a picture sent to them or something. It could be
Yeah.
any number of things, but I would just remember thinking like, they've never been in this house. How do they know where the Wi-Fi router is? Because it was like you said, it's not like it's on a desk somewhere. So,
Yeah. I don't know.
but they I do think like once that whole nonsense was over, I did like the kind of like the ending sequences a lot. I did enjoy those.
Yeah, no, it starts to come together in the end. It starts to get back into like just being what I think what it did best was just the slasher killer chase stuff, and it gets back into that groove.
And again, they do the cardinal sin where uh, they push Jane Addams through a window, but it's like a first story window, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Okay, well she's dead, so let's just run off." And I'm like, they didn't even bother to check. So
Of course, yeah, but don't worry, they light her on fire, so
they do, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad movie. I'll say that it's not
Mm-mm.
bad. Um, Probably, like I said, not the most original movie, I'll say, but I'd say it's a light recommend in my mind.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't say go out of your way to go see it, but if you're just running dry on horror movies and you're just this is this would probably be a halfway decent one.
Yeah, I guess for me, I wouldn't recommend it. Not that I don't like it. I just think like the twist isn't great, and I just think overall like there's just better slasher movies out there. So
Yeah, name one.
personally, uh oh God. Oh, okay, you got me there. Yeah, Die Hard. Did you know
No, we're
Die
not.
Hard's a slasher movie?
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah, well, it's time to get that one started. But but no, I mean like of course if you're going for some everybody's seen Scream, everybody's seen the Freddy movies, the Jason movies, but even then I feel like there's maybe some lesser known ones that might be more interesting. But if you're interested in it, you're not going to get something awful. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you said, it's a light you can light recommend it and I'm not angry about it. I'm like most people probably would not even be upset about this movie.
It is weird though that the movie asked for a positive test on COVID before you could watch this movie. Like you have to have COVID to watch this movie.
Really? So it could be relatable?
Yeah,
Oh wow. It's like the John Malkovich movie that he hid away in a vault, but like this is one like you can't it's hidden until you have COVID.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I was able to watch
Then
it.
how did I get to watch it?
Nathan, have you tested recently?
I'm asymptomatic. Oh no.
No, been spreading COVID for years.
For years.
But no, yeah. Like I said, I think that pretty much is it. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, Nathan, we got Tuesday coming up, and that just happens to fall on a particular day. So, Nathan, what are we going to be talking about on Tuesday?
Well, like you said, Tuesday is October 31st. It's going to be Halloween. So we have something really special planned for you. Ryan and I, for the first time ever, we're going to the drive-in, the real actual drive-in. And we're going to go,
Whoa.
yeah, we're watching a horror movie marathon all night long over there. We're going to be watching the classic horror movies. We're going to be watching Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolf Man. So it's going to be a really fun night. I'm excited to talk about that and go see those and talk about them with you guys here.
Terrific. That's one I actually cannot wait to do. I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Me
But
too.
uh, if you have any thoughts and opinions about this, you want to send your crazy COVID conspiracies and tell us that COVID is not real, please email us over at drive-in-double-feature@gmail.com. Or, sorry, please email us over at drive-in-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on X and X us over at X at DIDF pod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.
Oh no. Oh no.